The final reports we received from the various scenes were now completed, but the findings left little more than we already knew or had reasonably guessed at. Site 0 in the Crystal Plains was, indeed, the first location to be hit. Based on the outlying ground at both crystal disturbances, a single, ground-mounted static cutter was used. It was placed in 3 different locations at Site 0, but only one at the secondary site, the one we had discovered in Endeavour while we were initially moving toward Site 0 when it was first reported several D-spins ago. Due to the even more haphazard nature of the flash shearing of the crystal in the secondary location, the investigators' standing determination of events is that a few different techniques were attempted using the static cutters at location 0, then possibly, after the poor showing of their efforts at the initial site, they attempted yet another approach to the cutting, with even poorer results than what they had accomplished at location 0. One thing was certain, the people behind this had little or no knowledge of how to use static cutters. This theory was further solidified when the ID search for both victims found in the rogue cruiser revealed that neither were registered citizens of the colony. The domestic cruiser they were traveling in was not registered either. And then there was the fact that they simply didn't appear to know how to properly operate the equipment they were using. There are many varieties of crystal on our moon that do not exist on our base planet. The type of static cutters we use here were developed specifically by engineers in our division's colony. It is not a technology mod that is readily available to other divisions, or any of their existing colonies, to the best of our knowledge. But what about the data towers? That still didn't make sense, unless they were trying to disrupt communications throughout the overlands, when their actions in the crystal plains would inevitably be discovered. But how would they know when the flash shearing of the crystal would be discovered? And if they knew that taking out data towers in the Razorstone Pass could hinder our communications severely in the overlands, especially depending on the current weather, why would they target 2 of the older and weaker towers in the network, and not one of the newer towers that are much more key to the network's overall integrity? Was this just some sort of trial that went wrong? Did they decide to try out the static cutters on the data towers, just to see what would happen while they were still here, so to speak? It wouldn't have been a snap decision they would have made during their escape, as the tower locations were south and west of the second crystal disturbance, further inside the borders of our colony. Of course, when they spotted our scouts and fled, they went west again, which didn't make much sense. The entire western border of our colony is a tall, steep wall of narrow cliffs with nothing but a vast, relatively unexplored ocean on the other side. Someone trying to escape our colony as soon as possible would head in any other direction, but would never choose west, unless they had a sea vessel or larger ship waiting for them. But if they planned to set down anywhere on actual land, they would choose to return north, as that would be the quickest way to cross our borders. East would involve crossing the Great Rift, which is almost certain doom for a scout-sized domestic cruiser. South would require passing through both the Expanse and the Grand Valley, which is our most populated region and is littered with guardians and cruisers, so it is unlikely they would cross both without being captured. But still, they headed west when they were discovered. Perhaps they also saw the scout that was monitoring them from the north, and chose west because it held the least resistance. Unfortunately, we might never know what their motivations were. But at this point, it was the motivations of the likely operation behind them that we were most concerned with. We knew they came in from the north, crossing the top line into the crystal plains within the overlands. We also knew somebody or something else had have taken the missing crystal away. That meant more people involved, and at least one more ship. And that part of this invading force we now had to contend with was still out there, as far as we knew, and their point of entry was where Endeavour was going to start the search for them.